listen, we have been talking about this for a long time. We've known it's been coming, and I've been talking about this for a long time. I remember doing a piece on SportsCenter laying out a 16-team college football playoff tournament.
20,
I did that
20 years ago. You were doing that?
Way like in the late 90s.
Wow.
I did it, and what I did was I put games in the quarterfinals and semifinals and what have you in existing bowl games, because when I was talking about it to my colleagues around the SportsCenter newsroom and what have you, they'd be like, yeah, well, good luck getting the loud jacketed bowl executives out of the way. Like, you're not going to tell a bowl game you're not going to get any significant teams because those teams are in the college football playoffs. And sure enough, I mean, that was 20 years ago. And then, remember the BCS that came into being because of the BS between Michigan and Nebraska in 97. To this day, Charles Woodson comes here and you ask him, would you have beaten Nebraska? He'd say we'd have beaten the brakes off of them. You ask anyone who was on Nebraska or any Nebraska fan, Tom Osborne had it working. And then they just decided we're just going to come up with some cockamamie formula. I remember when I was on SportsCenter having the research staff try to explain to me what the BCS was and the point system, and
nobody knows.
It was awful. It was terrible. It made like an NFL passer rating as simple as 2 + 2 = 4. It was dumb. It was difficult to follow, but it did put more often than not the two best teams that you could argue about, but it did put them there.
Yeah, they usually got it right.
And then the 4-team playoff hit, and that was good, but not good enough. Tonight it starts. Like, it's finally here. And it's a night game in Notre Dame, man.
Dude, it's going to be awesome.
It's under the lights in Notre Dame. Notre Dame, the Golden Domer, touchdown Jesus, the, play like a champion today sign that you hit coming out, all of that. I make fun of Rudy, who is definitely offsides. And, but of all the places to have the first home quarterfinal college football playoff game, Notre Dame's not a bad spot for history to be merged with the future. Yeah. And then to have Indiana in the house, too. I mean, I know Marcus Freeman, when we had him on a couple of weeks ago prior to the conference championship weekend that obviously Notre Dame is not part of because they're not in a conference. And I asked him about, Indiana coming in, the possibility of that. At the time it was, if I'm not mistaken, they had SMU going there. Or no, it wasn't SMU. It was, I forget who it was. It was Alabama. In this short-lived moment where everybody thought Alabama was going to make it. And he's just like, I sure hope it's somebody like Alabama who doesn't like playing in the cold. And it's Indiana. It's Coach Cignetti, Mr. Google Me coming. And look at this photograph from the Fighting Irish Twitter handle. Good morning from Notre Dame Stadium. There's a snowman in the stands. There's snow everywhere. This is going to happen tonight, guys. Ladies out there listening, ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happening. And it's awesome. I know there's a lot of people who think that this is the end of amateurism and
that's long gone.
No, but I can also understand it, that there are some people who think who read about college players demanding money, and there's the portal, and there's the NIL, and there's all of that. And yeah, there's miles to go for those who are in charge to come up with the rules to not only make it fair for schools and athletic departments, but for the players who are promised all this stuff and don't get it. Promised a spot, they go to the spot, and then somebody else comes in the portal and see you later. I mean, there's a lot that needs to be fixed, and there's a lot that can turn people off. But tonight, when Indiana steps on a field in the state of Indiana against Notre Dame, And then there's a triple header tomorrow in Texas, in Austin, when Clemson comes to visit, leading to SMU and Happy Valley. And then the first December game in the history of the Horseshoe. Never had one. I'm wondering if these are the first December games in any of these locations. Right?
Probably.
You know, and then
these usually aren't host venues for bowl games.
And as we talked about it with the coach of Boise State yesterday, nobody's ever been in a position of watching a game in football saying, "Oh, this is the team that we're going to play next." You know, having two game plans. College basketball coaches will tell you all about that in the tournament.
Yeah.
You know, or as you mentioned, FCS coaches and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
But hey, you know, when was the last time Dan Lanning settled down, watched a game, and goes, "We're going to play the winner"? Oh, okay. What do you do with that information?
Are you rooting for somebody specifically?
I don't think so. I think you just want it to be over and the film in your hand right away and start grinding tape.
Right.
Can't wait for it. I did a piece on a 16-team playoff in the late 90s on SportsCenter, and tonight a 12-teamer is starting, and I'm not taking that for granted. I'm fired up, man. And you can watch all those games right here on the Roku portal. It's awesome. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.